Hello teachers! You are moving along and here you are in week 4 of your 6-week classroom management class. I've enjoyed reading your discussion post. So many times it can get lonely teaching, and I find it really important to speak to colleagues to share and hear what they are doing. One does not come into teaching knowing everything about classroom management, and everything I learned about classroom organization and managing students I learned from other teachers or resources like your textbook. As an example, I routinely stand at the door of my classroom and welcome each student. This builds rapport with students, and I find it makes a difference. This week, you're going to develop your procedures for daily instruction. In other words, how do you greet students upon their arrival to class? How do you open a lesson and transition from topics or classes during the school day? How do you assign and collect student work? Do you use rubrics? What is your grading policy? How do you communicate these policies to both students and parents? These are especially important parts of your classroom management plan. These are all things that occur during a school day. Now, the reason for a procedure is to develop consistency, and consistency is what helps to develop trust and security with students. Now, the textbook is especially good and offers guidance and suggestions for this part of your classroom management plan. Make sure you read this before you submit the assignment for this week. In addition to your procedures for daily instruction, you are to also discuss your procedures for working with special needs students. Now, I realize that many of you are not special education teachers, but all teachers must know and be aware of any IEP or 504 plan that a student may have. Now, as a teacher, you are required by law to know and follow any IEP and 504 plans, as well as to be a part of developing that plan. If you fail to follow an IEP or a 504 plan, you could be open to federal or state lawsuits. I highly recommend that you study this portion of the text. The other thing to consider is how do you store the IEP or 504 plan so it's in a secure location. However, some of you are SPED teachers, and this is where you list all the procedures you carry out as a SPED co-teacher. What are your procedures for setting up IEP meetings? What do you do during your IEP meetings, and what is your follow-up? And these are all things to consider for the next section of your classroom management plan. Remember, all the weekly assignments will be collected and submitted again at the end of the class for a final artifact. Now, you still have time to go back and make any adjustments at this point. So look for an email from me for our next virtual class meeting for week 5. And if you email me, and also rather email me if you have questions. Okay, week 4, task 1. Develop your policy and list out your procedures for your daily instruction. Below are some things that you may consider, but this is not an exhaustive list. 1. How you greet and dismiss students from your classroom. 2. How you open a lesson and transition from topics or classes during the school day. 3. How do you assign and collect student work? Number 4. How do you distribute and collect materials? 5. How you use rubrics. Number 6. Your grading policy. Number 7. Your acceptance or not of late work. And how you communicate with students and their parents. Okay, so week 4 has also a task 2, and this is develop your policy and list your procedures for your daily instruction for delivery of special, or rather for working with special needs students with IEP or 504 plans. Now, each IEP and 504 plan will be different, but what needs to be listed are how you plan to work with your special needs students. Now, below are some things that you may consider, but again, this is not an exhaustive list. 1. How do you plan and work with your co-teacher? 2. Where do you safeguard and keep copies of your IEP or 504 plans? What do you do to differentiate your lessons? So I hope you have a good week, and remember to check out the textbook for some very concrete ideas. Now, remember, failing to plan and planning to fail often gets the same results. Now, let me say that again. Failing to plan and planning to fail often gets the same results. So I hope you have a good week. And again, if you've got questions, you're more than welcome to email me. Have a good week.